Hello, hello, and welcome to New World. What is it? New World AETERNUM Weekly. Yeah, I can remember stuff. I'm your host, Kai Zen, and I'm having some dragon's milk, and I actually have 3 separate new beers lined up to try. So it's going to be a good show for me, at least. We have with us this week my XO in really everything. WOLFDRAGON, say hello to the beautiful people and tell us what you're drinking.
Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us. I had way too much gin last night. I'm currently catching up with the rest of the universe with some Monster Ultra Gold.
Hell yeah.
Because caffeine's good.
We also have ARKHAVEN calling in from Germany. What's up, Ark?
What up, what up?
Yeah,
Doing good. Considering I did exactly what Wolf did yesterday and drank way too much. Now I'm just hibernating.
All right. We also have Swordsmith 95, an old friend from the Elite Days who is also playing New World with us and is having fun with it. How you doing and what you drinking, Sword?
Hello all, I'm doing pretty good, and I'm drinking a very boring Diet Coke.
Fair enough. And to balance that out, we've got Nomad Skellington, a friend from, again, the Elite Days, who joined us a little late at the party, but oh my God, I think he's probably got whiskey and weed, so we're good to go. What up, Nomad?
Howdy, folks. Yep, just got some coffee and some water. Taking it easy.
Oh, he's a liar. He's got all kinds of chemicals.
I got my herbal water pipe, but you know.
Yeah. Of course. You know, for medicinal purposes. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So, whew, what a week it has been. Holy shit. There's like 90 different ways to go with this to even get us started, but let's just start at the very beginning with things. What's everybody been doing this week? Let's go down. I'm gonna go down in order in the Discord channel. Ark, what have you been doing this week in New World? And just share a little bit of whatever, and then we'll get into all of the big headlines of the week in discussion. But just what have you been doing?
Hell yeah, man. So you know, it's just what a game that we're playing right now with the amount of content that's coming out. You know, I know we missed the other week being able to do a show, but I just got out of a major military exercise where like most of my time was consumed and I couldn't play as much as I wanted to. But like, holy crap, did I want to talk about stuff the last 2 weeks. And I started out 2 weeks ago testing around like the final thing I had not built yet, which was because I wanted to get the gear for it. Was a healing tanky like paladin build, and I wanted to get the gear at higher gear level scores like before the patch dropped. So I started building that, having fun with that, just crazy solo and stuff. I mean, up in freaking doing level 63 mobs, like 6 dudes. It takes a long ass time, but it's a fun game loop, just like figuring out how to stay alive and solo and keep your health pools together. And I don't even have I think my sword was at level 15 and I think the staff at level 10, so I'm far off from where this thing needs to be, but the power of it's great. So I started there, and then I went ahead and I really want to be able to do some of the invasions and some of the wars. So I started a tune up on the EU Central for me, which has all the right time so I can actually play. And I've just been going through, man, and I'll talk a little bit later about it, but I've just been slow rolling this tune, crafting everything, reading every time I clear out like a journal hunt. Like I go on these journal hunts where I'm trying to, get all the pages together, and then I'll sit down somewhere with the coffee and read all of them and then look back and try to figure out like what the hell it's talking about. just fucking loving it, man. Enjoying the game, enjoying all the stuff. I kind of like, you and I were the first two people in the company to hit 60, and we were flying through. And I'm just this time doing a real slow roll of it, enjoying it with my man Toots, who's also in Europe. And that's it, man. That's what I've been doing, just enjoying the ride. Of course, I've been testing some of the stuff out as it comes out, like the gypsum and all the winter stuff that we'll talk about soon. But for the most part, I've just been enjoying the ride, man, slowing down.
Okay. All right. And next up will be Wolf. What you been doing this week? What progress have you made? What you been working on? What you've been enjoying?
So I recently got to the level 60 mark. My gear score's not great because you just got there as you do. Ran around and did a whole bunch of the corruption stuff, thinking that with the patch I'd be able to get some free gypsum out of those boxes, and of course they put the kibosh on that, so I was like, oh, okay, well, now I'm maxed on Azoth and I have all these repair parts because you get stuff that is just garbage for whatever, because the loot tables with the stats and everything still aren't aligned with what the weapon is, that kind of stuff. And then the winter thing started up, and I've been having a lot of fun just going around, looking at the new winter content. The Yeti looks kind of cool. Those little towns are all kinds of fun. The aurorae that you can see around at night are awesome. And I keep looking up to the sky, hoping that one time I'm going to see a falling star, and I'll be able to run
Oh.
over and grab me some gleamite, but I haven't been able to get it yet.
It is so good. It literally like an hour or two ago, I was coming out of Cutlass Keys, and I was on a stretch of road that it was a little barren, and I heard the sound, and I was like, oh shit, and I started spinning my camera looking, and then all of a sudden they put the sound in, and like 15 seconds later, 10 15, so they give you time to like look around. Then all of a sudden you just see the shooting star come down and arc, and I was running. I was like, oh my god, I think I might. I hope I get there. I hope there's some left by the time I get there. I got there. There wasn't a single fucking person. I got 300 gleamite in one go. I was like, yes, so fun. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll get that one soon. Next up, we're gonna skip me. I'll go last. Next up is Nomad. What have you been doing in game this week? What are you working on? Where are you at? What level? What are you doing? Et cetera, et cetera.
Pretty much just trying to catch up to y'all. Just 49.5 right now. Been doing a whole lot of faction quests mostly. Up until the winter update dropped, and now there's a whole plethora of new quests to do and presents to collect, and which is nice because I don't particularly like mindless grinding, especially like repeatable quests like faction quests and stuff like that. It's not particularly engaging for me, and I'm sure most people feel that way. So it was good timing in that regard. But yeah, just really been enjoying the new setting and the winter. I love snow and I love winter, so really vibing with this whole new update. That the falling star bit is really interesting to me. I haven't seen any yet either, but actually I just found some.
Yeah.
So there we
Oh,
go.
I hate you right now.
I just got one gleamite, so
Nice.
I haven't found it either yet, man. I'm with you, Sword.
So
Or,
it only happens at night, so it has to be at night. And if you notice, along with that, there is like an aurora borealis effect through at night when you look up that you can check out. That's really, really beautiful. So all right, so you just got your first. Right on.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so Sword, what all have you been doing this week? Where are you at? I know you just did something pretty awesome yesterday. I want you to cap it with that. So tell us all the stuff you've done the week, and then give us a story of your adventure yesterday to cap it off.
Yeah, so I've basically been spending most of my time getting all my equipment gear scored up and getting good damage equipment. That way we can go into Genesis and Lazarus and I'll actually be useful.
Mm-hmm.
And to that end, I force unlocked the weapon mastery quests, and then just last night completed the musket mastery quest and got myself a nice legendary musket that glows.
Okay, so you're
Ending to that, then I had to go into Merkguard and kill
Yes.
50 guys alone.
So you snuck in and played like Metal Gear Solid or Splinter Cell gameplay as a musket user. You snuck into Merkgard and found out spots where you could just pick off 1 or 2 guys at a time, and we're just sneaking through Merkgard solo play. That's some legit shit right there. I dig it. I very much dig it.
You're gonna have to show me where that is, man.
Yeah.
Place me kicking my ass.
All right. So now that takes us to me. What have I done this week? Well, you guys know I've been 60 for forever. I've been continuing to work on, my crafting skills. I am 200 max gatherer everything, 200 max refiner everything, and as of yesterday, as of Friday, I am 200 max furnishing, as well as cooking and various other things, and I'm working now on jewel crafting. So, yeah, I'm 200 cooking, 200 furnishing. I'm working on jewel crafting. Oh, and I've been 200 armoring. So I'm going to do jewel crafting, max that, do arcana, max that, do engineering, max that, do weaponsmithing, and then I will be max everything in the game. In addition, I am almost I should be today to level 5 of the new Christmas rank, the Winter Wanderer rank. I've completed the quest line completely. Not only that, but some friends of ours pitched in, and a friend of mine, Brittany, from Final Fantasy, I talked her into starting this game, and she downloaded it and literally started it like Friday night. Saturday morning, yesterday, was her first full day in the game. And just on a whim, just to be silly, we all got together. I ran with her and we did the quest, all of the Christmas quests together from beginning to end. I started with her at the very first one. We were collecting presents and getting her Gleamite and getting her stuff. We started with the Yeti. I went with her and we killed the Winter Warriors that were in, what was it? Everfall, First Light, and Monarch's Bluff. Then we went back. Then I ran her because she didn't have the teleport points. I ran her all the way to Ebonscale Reach, where we met up with my friends Sword, who is with us here today, and Cinnamon, and we killed the Yeti in Ebonscale Reach. Then we teleported back to Everfall because she didn't have any of the points, and we ran her through Weaver's Fen, from Everfall through Weaver's Fen, through Morningdale, up into Eden's Grove, killed the Yeti there, and then ran her on foot from Eden's Grove to Shattered Mountain and killed the final Winter Warrior up there to complete the entire quest line. Meanwhile, she was like level 19 through this. Killing a 66.
That's terrifying in Shattered Mountain.
Killing a 66 gold elite with all of the mobs at the top of Shattered Mountain. Yes. That was legend. Wait for it. Legendary. That was fucking hilarious. Good fun. And it was a lot of work. On foot. Escorting a level 19 through Eden's Grove and Shattered Mountain. But it was fun. We had fun. Yeah. So that was silly. That's what I've done with my week, and it's been a great time. With regard to the company, people are continuing to level up. We've got some new people that have joined us this week. So we're looking forward to that continuing to go. And with regard to what's happening, on the server, as of yesterday, Green has now retaken Windsward. So we have both Windsward and Everfall, together. Now we want to continue to expand across the map, but that's been a major thorn in our side, the loss of Windsward, and that's back. Novo Ordum, the yellow clan that had taken Ebonscale, Windsward, and Morningdale, are now down to just Morningdale on the map, and we will be happy to see them wiped off the map entirely soon. So let's get talking on the topics here. We've got several of them to go with. I'm going to just start with the 1.2 update itself. Now we're still, just to give you guys a heads up, don't wander into these subjects because they're going to be later in the show. We're going to talk about the roadmap video that was amazing. We're going to talk about the merges that are coming tomorrow. We're going to talk about various other aspects of future content. So what I want to talk about in this segment is the stuff that we got a couple of days ago on the 1.2 update. Let's start with the heading of the Winter Wonderland shit. Then we'll talk about the gypsum system, which we all call the jism system. And then we'll talk about the sort of, what are these? The expertise, the expertise things for the tradecraft, where you get boxes of goodies and stuff. So let's, like I said, start with the Winter Wonderland stuff. Everybody hop in. Ark, start us off. What do you think about the Winter Wonderland stuff? What's good? What's bad? What would you like added? What would you like changed? What do you just love about it? Go.
Yeah, man. So it's great, man. Like, listen, when you do a holiday event, you have to balance it out so that a few things happen, right? One, it has to be fun and appealing, right? It has to look attractive. The event should be something that looks like it's changed, and in this case, it drastically changed. I mean, the towns look great. It looks super, Winterfesty, which is great. The the snow in different places, it's just like everything else in this game. It's just beautiful, and it fits the part. When I made it to the first village, I was like, it was super stoked, and it does look like, I'm a guy who before COVID, every year goes to Christmas markets, right? And it looks like a European Christmas market. That's what it looks like. It looks like all little Christmas booths, all little stuff. You can get some glue vine, So that looks great. The other piece is it can't feel too grindy or stupid, and it has to have some kind of reward that you care about. And I'm just kind of looking through all the different rewards and all the different tier systems, which looks a lot like the faction kind of system, which is fine. I have no problem with them reusing that system. But it's good, man. It's great. I mean, you got end gear weapons that don't make, you're not going to take those weapons into to a raid, but you're certainly going to use them whenever you're out, chest opening and stuff like that, because they have luck on them. The lower level tiers for my brand new tune I just started looks great. They're really cool looking weapons, and this is when you really want something that looks better than the crappy, shovel that you get, you know what I mean, or the freaking trash can that's your garbage can shield. So like, it just made a lot of sense, man. I'm really stoked. I want to level up. This tune's obviously not going to have any use for the level 60 weapons, but I want to get the tent skins. I'm really stoked about the tent skins. I really want. I wish I could just buy one now. I don't think you can. But I like the way the presents work. I like it all, man.
You can buy 2.
Can you just buy them out right now?
You can buy 2 right now on the store. In addition to that, I should mention, thank you for reminding me, the store is having special things like every 2-3 days on the paid store where you have to buy glams. They're giving away free stuff for Christmas. So from Friday till today, Friday till last night, they were giving away poinsettias, like the flowers, as housing decorations, and like a winter coat, like a hooded cloak coat that was really cool. Today's, they're giving away free pants and boots. I think basically it's over several days they're building up a full outfit and then including, other things. So literally click on the store, go in like you're going to buy stuff, and it says for 0 tokens, so for free, you can, for a limited time, I think the pants and the boots that just went up this morning, those are going to be there for like 2 days, and then they'll flip it to new free stuffs.
That's great, man. That's what I'm talking about, and that helps promote doing. If you remember in Halloween, I think the players kind of did most of the decorating with houses and gave it a little bit of a feel. But when you give players stuff that they can put in their homes and put out places, they're gonna do it, man. And anyway, I could talk for I'll let other people jump in, but I just think it's a great system. I think it fits.
Let me ask you
for this.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that for it coming out, 3 months or whatever after launch, it's insane.
Yeah, like 2.5, not even 3. Did you catch the mistake that they made on the gear? Because you just specifically you mentioned the gear.
I don't think so.
So on those luck weapons, you know, the luck this, luck that, which they're great. You should get them for the luck. As he said, it's good for everybody. The way that it works is with an item level 600, a gear score 600 item, you're supposed to have 30 max stat. So if you go right now to the boards, to the market board, and you buy a legendary gear scored 600 sort of like, say, axe or whatever, you can get it with a maximum of plus 30 to a attribute. So plus 30 strength, for example, or plus 30 con if you wanted. Or in some cases it's like 20 strength, 10 con, or 15, whatever. But they goofed, because with sword and shield, if you notice, whenever there's a sword and shield option, it's always, you know, half of that. So maximum of 15 stats on the sword and 15 stats on the shield. They goofed and put 25 on both. So you can literally get 50 attribute points with sword and shield, whereas any other weapon set that you use, you can only get 25. So with
Wow.
with 50 sword and shield and 30 in your second weapon, you could literally have 80 attributes right there, as opposed to any other weapon set in the game. You could, if you with 2, you could only get 60 attributes, because it's, you know, primary, weapon, secondary. In this, it's primary, secondary, and auxiliary, and it's 80 instead of 60. I have faith that there will be a patch forthcoming that will say, like, we fixed that, which is, it's unfortunate, because then that's the thing. That is the thing. You know what? It might not. They might just leave it and say, it's less trouble to, it's just better to just leave it. We screwed up, because whenever, that is the thing you find, whenever you take away something from MMO gamers, you will see the biggest tantrums in the history of time. So yeah, but who knows? But
Shields don't have, they don't have perks on them, though, do they? The shield or sword, like useful perks for, you know what I mean? Like, for example, my end game builds on all of them, I'm using at least 4 or 5 pieces of my gear have to have a perk on it.
Mm-hmm.
No, they just have the attribute.
I'm not for sure. There's that, and that's reason why those swords and shields and really weapons in general aren't great overall. They're just good luck weapons, luck this, luck that. But for use, for example, if you're using it to pair for, like, oh, I want to get to the 300 cap so I can single hit a tree for con, or I want to get to a 300 cap so I could single tap a node for mining, a rock or an ore node, then just those raw numbers are. It's an edge case, but it was just a little bit of a, like, guys, you goofed there, but whatever. I still, overall, I love it. Let's move on to, we got Ark's thoughts on the Christmas content. Let's get Wolf's thoughts. And also, wait, real quick, Ark, how much of the quest line and stuff have you done? What rank are you with the Christmas Village Winter Wanderer dude? And have you done that quest line, and what did you think of it?
I've only done the I'm up to the level 20 where you fight the first I think it's level 25 mobs.
The ones
because I got like because I was playing the other day and I was enjoying it, don't get me wrong, I'd be higher, but it was a little bit crowded and I was getting in to fight the Yetis, and I have that paladin build on my Lobby character, and I was like maybe level 16, and there was just a ton of dudes, so I couldn't get enough DPS on them to make it count. But I thought that quest, you know, from what I'd seen, and by the way, I went to a bunch of the towns just to look at, like, the trees. Like Reekwater is maybe one of the coolest kind of eerie Christmas towns ever.
Yeah.
But I like, from what I saw, I mean, you just telling what you did kind of got me excited and pumped up to maybe log back onto my 60 tune and make it all the way up to that 66 elite boss. But I'm excited to keep doing more.
Hell yeah. All right, Wolf, your thoughts on the Christmas Village? Where are you at with it? What's been your experiences, et cetera, et cetera?
So, progression has been a little slow. Like, there's the missions that you can take. at all the regular towns, you can go to the town board and get the festive missions. They're town board missions. Go here, kill X number of mobs. Get this material, craft this, turn it in. Okay, more same. Got it. I like the storyline sort of missions that the Yeti gives you. I kind of wish that there were maybe a little bit more. Because going around is like, okay, well, for whatever reason, I'm in a busy area, so I'm not seeing presence. I'm only seeing presence like along roads. Maybe I'm just in the wrong spot to find them, kind of just laying around in the open world, but it is what it is. So I'm running around on roads and familiarizing myself on the map and picking up presents and the stuff. I just cleared tier 3 of the event reputation score, whatever it's called. Stagnant's not the right word, but like I want to get to the point where I'm doing the next thing, and it was one of the missions was get level 3 and then you continue on. It's like, well, shit. So I spent about an hour just bopping around collecting presents, and it's like, oh look, I'm near this town. I'm gonna go hit up the tree because I can get free shit, and free shit's always good. Great way if you need coin in the game to just I'm gonna run around all these places and you just get free gold coin. It's fantastic. But it's been neat to go to all these different towns and whatnot to see what's changed. I actually forgot when the patch was, so I logged into Reekwater. I wasn't paying any attention to the loading screen or anything. And I'm in Reekwater, and I'm not a fan of Reekwater. Like, I thought Weaver's Fen was depressing. Like, Reekwater's worse just because the town's even more of a pain in the ass to navigate. And it's like, I'm in a swamp, and there's snow on the ground? Like, I'm from a place where we have some really weird fucking weather, and I was a little shook.
Right on.
But it's cool. Everything looks neat. It was kind of eerie, creepy vibe that Reekwater gives you, and it's winter. Congratulations. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go look at all this fun stuff again. How the hell do I get back up to that stairway? Like, all the good things.
Right on. Okay. So that takes us to next in line is Nomad. What are your experiences? And you just got your first Gleamite. We heard you popped your Gleamite cherry. What do you think of all this Winter Wonderland?
Yeah, I like it. So my only pretty much previous event MMO history is with World of Warcraft, and I think to me in Classic WoW at least is a bit underwhelming, but this feels really engaging, more so. And I haven't been fast traveling anywhere. I've been walking everywhere just so I can find as many presents as I can and see what's all changed, if anything, and it's Gleamite, obviously. Trying to look out for that. Actually, just killed the first Yeti Rames at Rames Refuge just about 5 minutes ago. Pretty neat stuff. I like the ice caves. I think they look neat. I like all the changes to the towns. To me, it's net positive. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it came just in time for me. I was kind of, I don't want to say burnt out, but I was kind of feeling the grind, and they kind of feel a little bit of a stagnation just for me personally. So update perfect timing, kind of in the same boat as Wolf, where I wasn't really paying attention, and the update was out, and I had maybe missed a day or so. And I came back, and I was like, oh yeah, like a bunch of new shit. Like I opened the map and saw all these new quest markers and all these new places to go. So yeah, I think it's perfectly timed event. I think it's pretty well executed, especially for the game being out for as long as it has. There's bugs, there's issues. Some of the presents don't load. Some are weird and funky, but I don't know, man. I'm having a good time. Let the naysayers say what they want to say. If they don't want to have a good time, that's on them.
Oh yeah. All right, Sword. Take us home.
I'll go ahead and say that I'm almost to the final point, tier 5 in the Winter Convergence Festival ranking. So I've gone through most of it. I really enjoyed, and I'll reemphasize what Nomad said, the fact that they are that they are giving you another reason to run places rather than just Azoth teleport everywhere. The presence along the roads, as Wolf pointed out, combined with some other things we'll talk about later in the show, have made it a lot nicer to actually spend time out in the world rather than at the nodes that the game has created. That makes sense.
100%. And keep in mind, this Winter Wonderland event is going to be going on till January 11th. We are still in the top, we're at the beginning of it. And Sword and I basically, along with some other people, did all of the stuff together, and we're both at the last step. Now, did we maybe play a little more than the average person? Probably. We're a little hyper into it, but the fact that we can be at the end stage in the first 3 or 4 days of an event that's going to be going on for quite a while longer, I think demonstrates that it's like, this is very, very doable. This is very attainable. You would need to grind many, 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 many hours if you wanted all of the things for all of the classes. I think that that would be a mistake. I think that's dumb to get all of the things for all of the classes. I think that for the average player, you're probably going to want about 5% of the stuff, because it's like, well, this gear does not apply to me. I have no reason for it. I already have much better. These patterns don't apply to me. I don't want to craft this stuff, but these ones do, and this stuff I do want. So I think, there's definitely good stuff there that people can enjoy, and I think that the average player who doesn't go as hard as Sword and I have, but just goes somewhat, just has some fun with it and does a little here and there, will easily be able to attain the things that they want sort of by the 11th of January. I think it's unfortunate that they made that little snafu with the sword and shield, but whatever. It's a small oversight. It's not the end of the world. And as Ark pointed out, that's only really that big of a deal. That's only really best in slot or whatever if you're using it for the attribute to hit a perk for mining nodes or whatever, because the real best in slot swords and shields are not going to be ones that have just raw attributes. They're going to be ones that have perks that you really, really need to have. So I'm not, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, no biggie. I think the storyline stuff that they're putting in here is very, very cool. The quests, very, very cool. The fact that they have added in here these special ice caves, and they've said very clearly, these are not just for the winter event. These ice caves will be persisting forever now, and they're going to reuse them to put special content. So it's basically like a little pop-up dungeon where they can put a boss, and maybe if there's an Easter one, maybe we fight some gigantic fuck-off bunny, or if there's a Chinese New Year one, maybe there's a little dragon, or if there's a fucking Hanukkah bush or something. Who knows? They could put stuff. They could put Diwali stuff to celebrate, India culture, or they could put stuff to celebrate Native Americans or Africans or fucking, I don't know, Swedish, whatever. It's cool. I think it's really cool. So, yeah, that is super, super exciting. And I think it was really well done. The fact that they changed and put there's now an Aurora Borealis effect, that's amazing. The fact that they went, I haven't seen other games. Please, anyone speak up. I haven't seen other games. Most games, it's okay, we put in caves where there's stuff to fight, and there's okay, go collect this stuff. Okay, that I've seen. I haven't seen any other games hey, we got shooting fucking stars that crash down to the earth and make a huge noise and light up the sky, and then they drop special ore you got to get. I'm like, wait, what? You did what? That is fucking cool. That is extra. That is some big dick, oh yeah, we just dropped this game, but we're also gonna drop shit you ain't never seen before. Let's go. Anybody else feel that same way with regard to the whole Gleamite thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was getting at with, speaking of my past experience with MMOs and events, which is few, but it's it's nice to see that they're putting, especially this early on, that they're putting this much effort into how engaging the event is. It's not just some like it's not stuck in the town. You know, a lot of games tend to do that where the event is basically just inside the towns or what have you.
Mm.
It's nice that they've changed the world and added things and the Aurora Borealis stuff. I mean, that's one of my like favorite natural wonders, and so I think it's really neat that they're doing all of this, and it makes me excited for what they could potentially do in the future once they're ahead of all the nonsense that they got to deal with.
Okay. All right. Anybody else on the Winter Wonderland stuff? Referring back to any of my closing thoughts on it or whatever?
I can't think of any other game that's done anything that's overarching environmental, like with the Aurora and the shooting star, that kind of stuff. Like it's common to be like, okay, we're gonna change it so that you know, when you die, like instead of a backpack or whatever, you know, the drop looks like it's like a Christmas present or a jack-o'-lantern or a big fuck off pastel Easter egg or something like that. It's like, this is much more in-depth thought out, and it gives you a little insight into the game developers and the game directors' thought process for long term. What do we want this game to do? What do we want it to be known for? Because quite frankly, this ups the bar. So any other, you know, big scale MMO that wants to come out and do something, it's like, oh, and you're gonna have an event. It's like, well, why'd you just make the bags do stuff? Why didn't you do the neat stuff that Amazon did, you know, 10 years ago or whatnot, whenever it comes out? So it's all goodness, because it's gonna make other things better, not just this one.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. We're doing the show, and I waddle past because I'm super fat. I've got like, I don't know, like 900 pounds of moats on me, and I waddle past Wolf as he's saying that, and then I see, there you go, there's Wolf right there running up to me. I see Sword run by me on his way to the engineering station. Like, we're doing the show, and we can't stop playing. We're like, yeah, we're gonna just play while we do the show. Who fucking cares? Yeah, just all right. So that's the Christmas stuff. It's amazing. You still have plenty of time. In addition to this, I want to just throw in a quick note. You only have like another day or two. You have until the 21st. So you have until Tuesday to go to Amazon Gaming Prime or whatever the fuck it is, gaming.amazon Prime, whatever, and get your free this free round of stuff. And then they're coming up, it's going to be the Thespian set. So they're going to have new free stuff that just for being an Amazon Prime member, you get free shit linked to your account. And then there's a couple more coming up, including they have stuff from the Wheel of Time in January. The Wheel of Time, the Amazon show, the Wheel of Time. So they've got Brand's sword, which is, here's what I'm wondering about. It looks like a two-handed sword. It looks like a great sword. And they've got a skin, like in January, for a great sword, which makes me like, wait, what? There's like, oh, you can get Egwene's this and this one's that and whatever. And I'm like, oh, hell yes, I am digging it. So, yeah, free stuff, winter event, amazing. That takes us to the second thing, which is the other content in the 1.2 patch. And let's start with the GISM system. The gypsum system is the proper way, but we all call it the GISM system. So basically, to sum it up in a nutshell, the end game in this game was just not that fun. It was very it felt very punishing. It felt like a huge artificial roadblock. I did not like it. The high watermark system, I felt was very, very bad. I get why they did it, but it bummed me out that they did it. It seemed like it was just there to artificially lengthen the time that it took you to get your gear to the final end stage. It almost seemed like it was there to slow you down so that they could have more time to put out more content. Many players agreed with me that the system was, let's say, suboptimal, and they made their feelings known on the subject. And in this 1.2 patch, Amazon changed the system from the high watermark system to the expertise system. And the way expertise works in a nutshell is you can do various different activities and you do them daily. And as you do them, you unlock a thing called gypsum. And you can take gypsum to a kiln and you can turn that into a chest. And the chest is a upgrade that you can attribute to anything. You can attribute it to any weapon or piece of equipment you have, and it will up the high water mark for that piece by anywhere from 2 at a minimum, 5 at a maximum gear score. In addition to that, you can obtain upgrades to your gear score out in the world. You have a very clear indicator right next to each piece on your character sheet now. They call it the paper doll. I hate that name. Character sheet, where it shows like, here's my high water mark for this weapon. Here's my high water mark for this piece of gear. Everything from earrings to swords to axes to shoes to hats, all of it. So they've given us more ways to increase it. They've given us a clear indicator of what we have and how it's upgrading. And also when you upgrade something out in the world, when you open up a chest, or as soon as you kill a boss and he drops a bag, even before you loot it, he drops a bag with, oh, here's an upgrade to my sword. It'll say on your screen, it bong, it flashes and it throws up a little indicator and it makes a noise. And it's a very gratifying feeling as a gamer to see like, oh, okay, I got an upgrade. And then also, like, oh, hey, look around for that loot bag because you got some good shit. The GISM system, I think, is a home run. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it is so far better than the old system. I feel like from where it was to where I wanted it to be, it's like an 8 out of 10. It could be better, and I would give it a 10 out of 10, but it is so much better than what we had that I'm like, oh, you guys are moving in the right direction. You guys are listening. I love it. Ark, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, it's the right direction. I mean, I'm not a big. I think the problem, every MMO faces a problem at the end game, right? There's going to be some grindy things, some things like busy work, and there's going to be some entertaining things. And the key is to balance that, right? To balance the entertainment stuff versus the grindy, the busy work stuff that you have to do. And I think the problem with this game is before this patch, and now in a lot of regard, it didn't, like, Outpost Rush was pretty much the only entertainment thing. Like, no one's really doing much else in terms of, like, expeditions were a mess. No one wanted to do them. No one knew what their watermark was, or knew, so basically it came down to everyone doing some drudgery chest gathering up in Shatter Mountain or Reekwater or whatever, trying to, with a bunch of Excel spreadsheets as you had, trying to figure out what the hell their gear score was. So I think this did all the things you just mentioned. I think it gives you another, if you're an achievement person, right, it's another thing to kind of go after. It's you do have that feeling of, two things. One, you have that feeling of accomplishment when you do see that ding happen. It's like dinging a level, when you're leveling, because make no mistake, you are not at end game until you get that, until you really hit that 600 gear score. So you are actually, everybody was at end game, and then you're not at end game really when you hit 60. You got to hit 600, but you feel like you're going, and it gives you the control, as you mentioned, with the gypsum, in kind of which direction you can go. So you can, so my couple rules so far have been, I think I got a 4 out of 5. I got a 5 out of 5. I think I got maybe a 3. And at first I thought I was gonna be able to do it all in the one piece, but the actual headset, like, I was using the head first. It had a cooldown on it, so
yeah. So it's a daily lock that you can only upgrade each piece one time per day. So that is encouraging you to spread your up to a maximum of 8 upgrades among all of your gear.
Yeah, so I kind of wish it would just give you a little more control to kind of just boost one thing. I mean, one of the little tips I'll just give you from my side of the house is do jewelry, because especially if you're light, a lot of us are a little bit light on jewelry in terms of having it, because nothing dropped. I know now it's dropping, but I started doing some jewelry pieces just to get some extra, because you actually get the jewelry. Like whatever you craft, you get that piece of gear. It doesn't.
Mhm.
It's not just it doesn't just pop your gear score. But I think it's the biggest problem is my problem with it always is it's just, I think I was thought about this guy over the last few days. Like you and I were talking deep into the night the other night. Here's how I think they could really, really fix expeditions and fix this gear score thing. If they did one thing, each of the dungeons or expeditions before you go into them, they have like those 7 weapons that could drop there, right? Like the core weapons.
Mhm.
Like I got in Lazarus in the first one, like 2 of the core weapons, but it means nothing. They're hot dog shit because they're gear score 500 or whatever. I'm not going to use that. Why not make, not every weapon, but the core weapons, the ones that count? Why not make them drop if you're lucky enough to get it? Like that life staff that Sind wants, or that special shield that you want, or that special thing that you would hunt for at end game. Why not let it drop at its top gear score, 595, 600, whatever it's going to be? It's just scaled down your gear score though, because what happens then is I can now feel like I'm at end game, which is what you want to do at end game, right? At end game, you want to start building your character out, building out its, the loadout you want to use and you want to compete with and do things with, be it PvE or PvP. Why not? And so you hunt these expeditions or dungeons in other games to do that. Why not just let me have the chance that I can get it? And if I do get it, it's maybe it's, if my gear score is 520, that's where it sits at, and just as I level my gear score, it levels along with it to the end. Because then you would have people who want to do the dungeons or expeditions right away at level 60, because they could start to farm and get that enjoyment, because that's part of the enjoyment, right? Part of the enjoyment at end game is having that luck roll in that dungeon you really want, you really try hard to get that particular item that's going to change, your build or top off your build. Right now, if I go do it, it's just a shit. If I get lucky enough to get it, it doesn't matter because I have to get it again once my gear score's up. And being that this game isn't really cool with giving you a whole bunch of entrances into the expeditions currently, like it's not difficult. You got to get all those keys. I really think that if they made that one little change, I think it changed the game, and I think it'd be perfect.
Interesting. We're gonna table part of that discussion. I find it interesting. We're gonna table part of that because we're gonna get into, that's another thing that was discussed in the roadmap. So we're gonna get into sort of that aspect. Wolf, you're up. What do you think about the upgrades in 1.2 that are, the gypsum system and the expertise system?
So I think that I get why the high watermark system version 1.0 got put in there. I don't like it, like many people. I thought it was kind of ambiguous because you didn't know what things were. All you could do was run around and kill bosses, get chests, and then you'd have a chance at upping your high watermark. So it just, if you had pissed off RNGesus for whatever reason, it was just demoralizing to try and get that good gear that you wanted to get so that you could do more of the end level high tier stuff, better, faster, blah blah blah. So I love that it's got, hey, here's what your numbers are. Great. I really love the fact of, here's a thing that I can go do. And granted, I can only, cash out, so much per day. But I can go do all these different things, and I can stockpile the gypsum to go back to the forge and then apply it to my stuff. And it's a guaranteed upgrade to my gear score rather than dice roll after dice roll after dice roll. And like I did the fun run up in Shattered Mountain. I didn't know the area too well, so it was like, okay, where the hell am I going now? It was just, follow the ants going from box to box to box. But even at that, I, couple 3 points on like maybe 2 things, and that was it. And that was not a short thing to go do, and it's not a thing that you can really do efficiently, quickly, whatnot by yourself. So I love the fact that there's now here's the thing you can do, here's how you progress, go forth and conquer, and you can set yourself a goal and go execute.
It's interesting. I think that might be a bit of an extra psychological I don't know how to put it, but factor involved in this whole thing. You talk about RNGesus and you say like, "Hey man, in case you piss RNGesus off, let me tell you something. I've met a lot of people and I talk to a lot of people about a lot of things." And this thought is brought to you by Sarnac Blueberry Blonde Beer. Good stuff. Here's something that I've noticed. I personally feel like RNGesus fucking hates me, and I get fucked by RNGesus every chance possible. I've met many, many people who will tell you the exact same thing. I don't think I've ever met somebody who said, RNGesus loves me. I get shit on the first try. And I don't think I've met many people that say, RNGesus is pretty much, you know, I'm 50-50. I break even with him. So it has to be that we're just projecting it and making it's RNGesus feels worse than it actually is, because by the law of averages, some people have to be coming out ahead and most people have to be coming out even, but no one ever feels that way. Everyone, whenever you have an RNG thing, it somehow psychologically just feels punishing to everyone. I know, Ark, you're like a marketing fucking dude that, like, you know all this kind of stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's a packaging system that just seems it's hard to sell to the consumer because no one ever feels done right by it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they whoever designs it knows what the frequency of the drop of the thing that you need is, and it's by design to keep the game loop going. It's not going to be easy. So most people have that same, I don't know anyone either who's just like, I just get this shit easy as hell. Look at us, just all trying to get ill-gotten gains. Just look at the varied. I mean, I got a little lucky in it. And got it, I think, on my 4th or 5th try, and then like Miggy, I think, never got it. I don't know. Control but had a heart attack trying to get it.
I think Control had to kill that guy 75 times.
Bio went more than that. Bio did more than that. Yeah.
So to your point, it's just like it definitely is discouraging for most people, but it seems to be a staple of MMOs. I don't know. I mean, I think so. To Wolf's point, I mean, I agree with him. I mean, they've put a little bit of control back into players' hands, and I think that's a good thing.
Moving in the right
it at
direction.
least enables you to do it. Yeah. That's right. It's definitely dude. Nothing is a step backwards. None of this shit is. It's all step forward. It's just, it's the best thing about everything is to listen to the community. I'll just pause there for the next topic, but they're listening to what the community is saying in forums. And boy, is that a breath of fresh air.
Hell yeah. Nomad, you're up. Your thoughts on the gypsum system? I know you haven't interacted with it yet because you're not 60. You started the game much later than us. But as a sort of outsider who's seeing everyone commenting on it, do you have any feels that it's like, I'm noticing this, or I'm noticing that, or I'm looking forward to this, or ooh, I'm kind of concerned on that?
Yeah, I have some generalized thoughts on it, especially just from hanging out with you guys and hear y'all bitch about the watermarks, and then and watching your live streams and stuff like that with the just fun runs. It definitely just pretty much kind of echo what Wolf said, in that it's nice that they gave a bona fide way to progress. No one likes random chance. I mean, if we were people that were such fans of random chance, we'd all be living in Las Vegas. But we want to have some control over our character, and having that route where you can do all these things. It's not going to be easy. It's not. You're going to have to get your friends or whatever. But it's nice. It's encouraging, and the fact that they're listening to the players is encouraging. You don't see that a whole lot. It seems to be kind of a thing of the past almost, but it's encouraging for me getting there. Listening to you guys talk about watermark systems prior to this, it was kind of a bit discouraging. I was like, man, do I want to deal with this? Like, it's part of the reason why I wasn't in such a rush to get to max level. It's like I don't have a whole lot of time. I play multiple video games at any given time, so I don't want to lock myself into a grind and then having random chances of progressing. So yeah, and to stop repeating myself over and over again, I think it's a great thing, and I'm looking forward to what's next.
Right on. That takes us to Sword. Sword and I have been brothers in blood going through this together. Both previously we've done stuff together, and then since then we've done some stuff together. And I know Sword has got some feelings with regard to some of the ways that they can continue to improve. And I'm excited to hear it. Go for it, Sword.
Well, I'll start out by saying before the high watermark system, during the old high watermark system, before the gypsum cast, I was not going to bother with leveling up my gear to 600. I was just going to call it and say, all right, I know I'm going to be suboptimal, and I'll just live with it. But now that and to emphasize Wolf's point, emphasize Ark's point, emphasize Nomad's point, now that I have control, I'm excited to move forward. That thing of getting the upgrade makes me feel good. Does that mean that the gypsum system is perfect? No, they've got some improvements to do. There are some annoying things. I know Kai had an experience with Topaz gypsum that he may want to discuss, but it is a really big step forward and a very good starting point. And now they also have a very nice reward they can hand out to emphasize certain gameplay aspects if they ever need to.
All right, so I started off, I introed the subject by just kind of explaining what it is. I didn't give my personal thoughts. I will echo pretty much what everyone else has said here. I know this is just a group of people that are all agreeing with each other, and that maybe doesn't make for always the best discussions or best radio. But the fact of the matter is I love whenever a game moves towards giving the players the opportunity to control their destiny. This is a massive improvement from the old system. This definitely has massive flaws here, there, and everywhere that can be continued to build upon to make it even smoother and more polished and better. There are several different types of gypsum. You've got the event gypsum, which is diamond, which is like just click on your first 3 Christmas trees. That's a gimme. That's just free. That's a Christmas present from the game. Great. You got the what is it? Topaz is the one where you make the potion.
Yes.
You take a bunch of the elemental animals. I feel like the elemental animal cost is a little too high. It requires sort of a lot of grinding to make this potion. I don't think it's enough that it's going to be a daily thing. I think that for as many elemental animals as it costs, I think that should maybe provide you with maybe 3 to 5, because it requires like 7 elemental animals. And then you just go look for, how much does an earth tortoise cost now? $50 on the market. 50, go fuck yourself. I think for as much as it costs, I think that thing should provide 3 to 5. Or alternatively, I would be okay with it providing just 1 if the hour-long buff that it gave you were to make it to where the drop rate was like 1 out of every 5 things that you kill. If you made the drop rate like 20 to 25%, then you could kill enough stuff and collect enough topaz gypsum in an hour. Because right now it takes 10 topaz to make one box of that type of gypsum. If you were to take it to where because it has a drop rate of like fucking 2%, it's like stupid. If it had a drop rate of say 20%, or maybe even a little less, if it had a drop rate of 10 to 15%, so now if I kill 100 things, I get 10 to 15 gypsum. If I were to kill 1,000 things, which you can do in the hour, now I'll have 100. Now I'll have enough for like over a week's worth of gypsum. So it's like, okay, make it a special activity that you do with your friends once a week of, we're going to do a old school Final Fantasy 11 style monster grind, or EverQuest 1 style monster grind. That, level 55 plus monsters, that could be cool. So I think the Topaz definitely has room for improvement. Um, Whichever way they wanted to do that, either give you more potions or give the higher drop rate of the gypsum for that. Um, the 2 you get for Outpost Rush, that feels right. That feels good. That feels right. The ones that you do, you get ones for arenas or one for Lazarus Instrumentality. That's still a little borked, but it's not because of the gypsum system. It's because of the cost for the orbs to get into those 2 places. And we're going to put an asterisk on that because they've already given us an answer that that's getting better coming up here in January. And that's sort of, that asterisk is tied to the one from Ark's previous point, because his point was absolutely true and valid, that like it's a little hard, like nobody does the dungeons, and half of that is because of the gear system, and half of that is because it's too expensive to get in, and so we'll get to that. Which other ones are there? There's the one for killing level 60 plus bosses. That seems about right. There's the one for breaches. That seems about right. So there's multiple things in here. I'm not the biggest fan of the timing system, the way where it's like it's on an 18-hour cooldown to make a gypsum, but it's on a 22-hour cooldown to make the orb from the gypsum. And those, your cooldowns are all going to be off times because of, I start doing crafting or gathering to get my whatever the fuck that one, the crafting expertise one, and then after that I go do 2 Outpost Rush with my friends, and then after that I go and collect the Topaz one, and then after that I go and run a route. Like, you're gonna have like the times, it gets a little messy, and I like that they do an 18-hour like whatever, which makes it a little more forgiving as far as putting it in a place where it's like, well, what happens if one day I do it at 9 o'clock at night, but the next day I want to do it at 3 or 4 in the afternoon because I'm home earlier. Okay, that 18-hour kind of whatever, but there's some timers are 18 hours, some timers are 22 hours. Just a little bit of the implementation could do with a little bit more polish. A lot of other games, have a system, whether it's WoW or Final Fantasy, where it's just like the server resets, quote unquote, finger quotes, the server resets at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. And then it doesn't matter when you do it. It's so long as you're after the server, the global reset of 8 a.m., 9 a.m., whatever. Like, okay, I did it at 2 in the afternoon one day. I did it at 8 o'clock at night the next day. I did it at midnight the next day. I did it at 4 p.m. the next day. It doesn't matter. Everything is up and ready, available on the reset, because the global reset is like 10 a.m. I think that would be preferable, and they've already said that they're thinking about doing something like that, some system like that, so I feel confident that they'll continue to polish. But overall, I think everyone on this panel has said, this is a move in the right direction. We're loving where it's going. We can't wait to see it continue. So, two huge thumbs and a penis up. I'm a fan. All right, so that takes us to the whole roadmap video thing, which was huge. It was massive. I want to let Ark introduce it and start with just go through everything off the top of your head that you remember from it, and everyone else feel free to hop in and chip in and whatever, and let's all just make this an open discussion, but I want Ark to sort of introduce it and bring it to people. Go for it.
Yeah, so I just stumbled onto it, man, and it was the first dev video for me. I jumped on in the game, after it was already released. I didn't do any of the beta, any of that kind of stuff. And the and this is the first time I've got to see who the game director or who the content guys are, and it looked really well, man. To me, it looked a lot like how Star Citizen, for example, might handle that the kind of game. They brought some of the head engineers on. They brought some of the people that are in charge. And it was a community manager that was running the thing, but they brought the lead kind of designer. They brought different dudes that are in charge of weapons and stuff like that. But like some of the big things, right? So The very first big thing, right? They just kicked off right from the thing. Probably the most refreshing thing of the entire hour and 40 minutes, I think it was just the sort of admitting that, hey man, we have screwed some things up. We know it, and we're working on fixing it. We listen to the community, and one of the big things was they talked about like the average patching that an MMO might do, which is somewhere between 10 to 15 patches, fixes or whatever a week. They were doing like 50 to 60. And this has kind of led them into the issue of sometimes fixing something, taking 2 steps forward and then taking 3 steps back because something else then broke. So they acknowledged that, they looked at it, they really wanted to focus on all the things that were most impacting the community, the players. And now they're gonna, they created the PTR. They're gonna start slowing things down, really start testing things a lot better. Less but more meaningful kind of patches and fixes that have a sort of qualitative approach, to how they do. So that was the very first kind of segment of the video. I don't know if anybody has anything they wanted to chime in with that, but it was just that for me, that was the refreshing bit because it was recognition of, yeah, man, some things haven't been going well. We looked at that, we know that, and now this is what we're going to do.
I thought that was super honest. It was super, super refreshing. And yeah, there was a lot of things that they talked about where they were like, we learned from this mistake, we learned from that mistake, and we're going to do this better, we're going to do that. I thought it was really, really, really good stuff. I will make as a comment to the side, I've seen all of the videos that they've put up, the pre-stuff and whatever, and I'll tell you, man, this was an 1.5 hour long roadmap video that was really, really good, really informative, really open and frank and honest. But looking at pretty much almost every last one of them, seeing them there, especially Scott Lane, the game director, oh, that guy looked tired. Man, those guys, my heart goes out to them because you can tell these are people that have been burning the fuck out of the midnight oil and have been working around the clock like madmen trying to get this thing, keep this thing going.
Yeah, and it was neat because they talked about what I like them to say is often you'll have someone come over like, oh, we're doing the best we can, that we don't have that big of a team. And she's like, no, we got a big team. We're applying our best people at these problems when they happen. We're doing, sometimes whenever we're not, we might have some folks working on something else that's totally unrelated, but that's just so they're staying busy. But I agree, they looked worn, man. They looked like they got some of their soul taken and put into this game.
Yeah. Anybody else got any thoughts on the initial stuff that he was talking about?
Just a couple overarching things. One, I had to click through. Like I need to find a summary post for that 1.5 hours because I just don't have the attention span for it. But I thought it was really awesome that they spent an 1.5 hours like going through the good, the bad, the ugly, and where they needed to airing out the dirty laundry a little bit and talking to all of us like adults. Like that's just, here's what it is. Here's what we're working on. We fucked this up. We didn't fuck that up. We fixed this. We made this better. We're still trying to figure out how to work on these kinds of things. Like it's more power to them. And I don't even want to know how much coffee they're going through because, man, those guys looked haggard.
Yeah. And did you even catch the dig what's her name made, Kaczynski? She was like, yeah, we don't want to do this again, so we have to close down trading again. And she like nodded over at a dude. That was straight up like, oh, you can tell. Dude, you could tell and here, I love that because here's the thing. When that happened, remember when trading was turned off for like a week and a half? It was like 2 weeks, something. That was painful for us players. And whenever you see something that's painful for us, and then you see like an open, honest, unscripted comment where you can tell like, oh, it was painful for them too. They did not enjoy that. Like, I love that because it tells me like, okay, we're all in this ride together. This isn't a situation where we're suffering and you guys are like, all right, well, it's 4:59. I guess I'll go ahead and clock out and head home. Like, no, these guys were suffering with us, and I love them for it. Ark, hit up the next part.
Yeah, I'm not going to go in any particular order from here. I'll just like chronologically, I can't remember all the parts that came out, but the not to bore everyone. One of the parts they talked about, they sort of debunked the thought that like there was this, that you were flagging a player for something, maybe he was a governor before a war or whatever, and then without any kind of human sort of interaction, that player was just banned all of a sudden. So they kind of went into detail about what happens and what they do and how you get banned and what you can do and what players should do, how they should contact them. They made on numerous comments about like how to get a hold of them. I mean, what game developers you ever had them say where they're like, yeah, listen, if you got a big bug, you write one of my guys directly, just direct message them, and they'll respond to you, right? Who does that? Like no one takes direct messages unless you're like you got to be like a heavy content dude or something to have a lot of sway in your audience to get that kind of clout.
Well, that's
they're recommending it.
That's addressing a whole problem that they've had from the beginning. And this is something I've said off air many times. I've never said it on the air, but I will now. I'll just say it. From the beginning, their system of reporting bugs in this game of like, hey man, I sold this thing for this much money, and then I went and repaired another piece, and somehow I had that thing back or whatever. Their way of reporting bugs and dupes and like legitimate, like, hey, I'm a good player, I found a bug, it caused me to unnaturally or unfairly get some advantage, I'm going to report it. In every game I've ever seen, pretty much up till now, the way that's done is you message them with an email or customer support or whatever. They put it on their forums, but the problem is their forums are open. So if I report, there's literally a thread where you're supposed to go and say, I reported that I did this and then all of a sudden I couldn't die. Or I reported that I did this and now my axe it swings for 10,000 damage. The way you would report it is go to their open thread in the post and put it where everyone can see it. So unfortunately, that had the side effect of as soon as one guy says, hey man, I found this weird thing that makes me just make money for nothing, everyone who knows goes there every day and looks at it. All the cheaters, all the botters, all the scammers, all the everything would go there and look at it and go, okay. And he literally gives you all the steps how to reproduce it right there. Okay, now I'm going to go do it. That was incredibly stupid on their part. That was, I don't know if it's naive or thought or whatever, but that was the dumbest way you could possibly do that system, and that's what they used. And
they probably didn't know that they had so many holes in the game.
And they addressed it flat out in that video. The lady Kaczynski said, she was like, yeah, maybe don't post that if it's a big game-breaking thing. Maybe don't post that in our forum thread. She's like, we're looking into now setting up a private forum for that stuff. And like that's what you should do. Other games do that. It was an oversight on their part. They're fixing it. Hey, man, this is week, 8, 9? This is like month 2 of a massive MMO from a first-time MMO, studio. Like this is their first go at this. They're gonna fuck up. It is what it is. Okay. But they're fixing it. They're making it better. And they address the fact that you can clearly tell by the fact that the way that she said it, she was like, don't post that in the open thread, please. And it's like, well, you created that thread for people to post it there. But like you can tell based on that statement, they now realized the error of that decision. And they're taking steps to address it. I fully expect that a month from now, we'll be saying, hey, they changed that. And now it's like a locked thread and you can post and all of their company people can see it, but no one else will be able to see it until they unlock the post. And the way that's other people do it that way. I report the problem. Only the company people see it. They fix it. And after it's fixed and they've tested it and they know it's fixed, only then do they unveil it for everyone to see. Like, hey, we fixed this problem. It no longer does this thing that breaks the game. But like,
yeah, okay. And I think they're learning. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
You mentioned, they're figuring it out. And one of the things, Kai, just from let's from a PR perspective, they used words that are very powerful in how they described their player base. Like, you guys are the experts. We want our professionals to feed us. And they often used words that describe the player base as being the knowledgeable entities that they want to build the game around.
Mm.
And that's how you really kind of build loyalty. You improve, like, you humanize sort of all these developers and games, and draw connection into the audience.
Mm.
And you're going to get more qualitative feedback that way too. So I think all that just to kind of wrap, that was maybe one of the more boring segments, but that was a segment that was important because of how they framed it, important how they took ownership, important on how they set some clarity on how they screwed up and how they plan on fixing it going forward. So
100%.
anyway, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this portion of it now. This is a fun
Mhm.
portion. So, we were just having this talk the other night. We're talking about, like, man, and this is still my point, and I think they made it very clear there too. They want to start now focusing on the story.
Mm.
And you and I were talking about the story with someone else the other night, and my I don't have an issue. It's just that currently they have, there's room, let's just say, for more storytelling.
Mm.
They talked about closing out Thorpe and closing out Isabella's story, or maybe not closing out, but adding to it, or and they talked about adding more. And what seemed interesting to me, maybe we can kind of pause here and see what everyone's feelings are. I think that they know this game's a winner. They know it's doing well. They know they're fixing all the bugs and weird things, but like the people who do stories, that's not the same guy writing the code, right? That's a whole different section of the thing. I think they probably, because they created such a great background, which ranges from, like, BC, right, early Roman time, all the way up into 16th century, maybe 1700s, and I think they have so much to play with now, and now we're going to really start to see them shape and twist and evolve the world and introduce new characters. Shit, one of the notes I just read from this, the Portobello, the knights that just came, kind of talks about some other entity that could be in the area right now. And I think they just haven't written the story yet. Now they're about to start writing all this stuff. And we're going to start seeing it. And the one comment I would make, and maybe everyone can kind of chime in a little bit what they'd like to see. I was saying the other night, I would love it if they started to put some cut scenes, some animation scenes. It's some of the more benchmark story pieces that help kind of further explain us some backstory about a particular character. Kind of like how you have Thorpe in the very beginning with the when you get on the island. Like, I hope they do a little more of that. Because I love how they've introduced characters and then, like, they follow them through expeditions and other things like that throughout the game. I hope their new ones, if they're like 2.0, if you will, of storytelling, I hope they really start to create some cool, interesting characters from many different sort of timelines in history, and do it with some animation, do it with some cut scenes. It's so easy to do that kind of stuff nowadays. They should definitely take advantage of that.
Interesting. Yeah. I dig it. When you talk about the new guy that they're or the new entity that you're talking about, are you talking about that Crimson Sorcerer dude, or are you talking about? So there's two new ones that I found in the story so far that with the Varangians that they've introduced. The one is, like, there's hints to this old so there's like a king in the north somewhere or whatever. Their leader that they sent down here on this expedition, the Varangians. And their leader sent them to find artifacts from some old school Crimson Sorcerer dude. And then there's another storyline where it's hinting at some kind of a vampire chick. Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I literally just read it while we were talking tonight. I not the vampire chick. It sounds to me more the first thing you had mentioned. While you guys are looking at it, I'll look at that. I'll look at that lore page real quick.
Okay, cool. All right. So, guys, hop in. Anybody else have any thoughts on? I agree. I've thought that the story is great in this game. You have to really, though, read the lore pages in order to sort of get it. And there's weird stuff where, like, if you haven't got it all, I've done every quest in the game that was in the original game, and most of the I've done all of the Varangian ones, so all of the ones that were introduced in 1.2. I've done a good amount of the ones that were just introduced last week. They added like 13 quests in like Morningdale and like 15 in Restless Shore. They've added a bunch of new quests from the housing guy that are basically, I think, sort of just trying to introduce people into and online them onto the housing system.
Just great stuff, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, there is a lot there that, they said flat out like, hey, we want to sort of wrap up some of the stuff and build upon some of the stuff and whatever. And I feel like this game is going to have a great amount of very cool story arcs going forward. I feel like I'm confident that they're intending to focus on this. Anybody else got thoughts or feels on this whole story system and the lore and the changes that are coming before we move on to the next subject?
I am 100% a fan of scripts and storylines because it gives meaning, purpose, understanding, and if you do a story right, you get invested in it emotionally as a player, and you want to see things out. Maybe make it so that there's one quest that we could do kind of earlier on in the game where you decide who you're going to give the thing to, and it doesn't change anything, but it gives the illusion of choice to the player. Some of that would be good. As far as like cutscenes and stuff go, cutscenes are cool, but for the love of God, all cutscenes shall be skippable. There's no fun sitting watching a cutscene for the 19th time when you're deciding that this is the boss or whatnot that we have to grind against to get whatever specific piece of loot.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Take the next thing, Ark.
Okay, but I just want to say, Wolf, F you. You watch it again. Nah, I 100% agree. Yeah, and it's just another thing to remember. Cutscenes. When you have stuff like that, and you take the time to go ahead and create like, how Star Citizen does, where they can create a whole bunch of like machinima a little bit with just from in game. Like they can do stuff like that in game here. And that turns out to be huge marketing things that you can just use for your outward reach, just try and draw players, old players back into the game to check it out again. Because remember, as you know, there was a lot of them, right? There's 900 whatever thousand, and also reach out to new players. So anyway, I think those two tie hand in hand. Next thing, so they brought these two cats out who were weapon designers. That was really cool. And one of the interesting things about the weapon designers is that and we'll talk. This can branch out as well. We'll go around the horn because they talked everything from, pretty much talking about the blunderbuss coming next, the great sword already in the works. They talked about daggers being a fan favorite coming in. They did mention that they are not close with the other things with the sword and shield just yet. But the one guy was talking about what he's currently building. I don't know if you caught this or not, Kai, or he's running. He's running Warhammer Bow. I was like, that's interesting. Since those two, like,
awkward combination.
So they both had awkward combinations, but the interesting, the guy who said he's doing Warhammer Bow, and literally the way he said it did not give me a lot of confidence in his skills as a player, because he said, I'm using Warhammer Arrow, and I was like, all right, that guy is the guy who's in charge of specifically weapon balance, and I think that sometimes those guys, so we just got to accept the fact, and we got to understand the fact that players play games differently than game designers play games, and game designers aren't necessarily or even regularly that good at their games. Like, their skill set as a game designer doesn't necessarily lead them to be the best players of games. I'm sure that you could probably, jack up Chris Roberts in a 1v1 dogfight, or you could kick the shit out of David Braben, or you could whatever. With even these guys that are like top tier amazing game designers, they're not necessarily always good at their game. But like, I think it's interesting to see the fun and different choices that they make as players and stuff that they do, and it's like, okay, that's cool, whatever. I agree. So they did say, just on that point, on new stuff coming, basically they said in January we are getting blunderbuss. And where blunderbuss is different than musket is, so blunderbuss, just if you don't have a clue, if you're like, what the fuck is a blunderbuss? It's basically like almost like 17th century shotgun. Think of it that way. So they said that it's going to be, whereas the musket is sort of a slow and deliberate and a precision long range tool, the blunderbuss is going to be much faster, much closer, much more like explosive, messy combat. And I don't know if you caught this, Ark, but they said, and it's going to have a special navigational tool or aid. Literally, there have already been leaks from data mines about a grappling hook added to the blunderbuss. So now I'm thinking they're legitimately, when they said that navigation things, my ears perked up because I'm like, they're giving us a fucking grappling hook that you can shoot up a mountain and start to climb up. I am so excited, much excited. Did you catch that, Ark?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Talked about like that weapon sounds to me a lot like the Batman's utility belt, right? It can do a bunch of things. They also mentioned, it being able to be paired with staves, so that might indicate that intellect is maybe a secondary trait on it. Who knows? But it sounds really fun, man. And one of the catch I caught from the guy too, I don't know if you noticed this, he's like, yeah, I don't know, I've got to think about what I'm playing. I got to see what the new meta is you guys make. So this dude's waiting for like the community to figure out a meta with his design.
And he's the balance guy, and he literally said stuff. He openly admitted, like, he's like, yeah, stuff like the paladin builds you guys made, that caught us completely by surprise, and it turned out that was broken overpowered. We had to make adjustments, and it's like, yeah, okay. But again, this is why stuff like the PTR, which they introduced last month for the first time, are so very vital and important, because in the end, it's famous. One of the most famous examples of this was Final Fantasy XIV, when they introduced the ninja. It was broken overpowered because the developers had said, well, this is going to be the rotation that everyone's going to use, and with this rotation you get X amount of DPS, damage per second, and that puts it towards the top of the damage tier. We want people to play the new thing, so we're going to make it a little strong, and then we'll nerf it later, we'll balance it, whatever, but it's going to be sort of within these parameters. What they had no clue of was that people immediately saw it and said, oh, your rotation is dog shit, here is a much better rotation, and got like 60%, 70% more DPS out of it, which just made it entirely broken for a patch cycle, until they went back and immediately threw the brakes on it and said, oh shit, now that we got somebody that knows how to play this game, this weapon is way too strong, we're gonna make it a little less strong. Yeah,
and it's often because they don't, they look at the math and they look at the test dummy stuff, but they don't figure out things like animation canceling, right? Like have you ever fought somebody with a bow and you're wondering, like, man, why is this dude jumping all the time?
because he can fire animation, again.
Yeah, the jump will cut the animation about a half second faster in your bow fire, and it's wanky. You got to aim better, but if you can master it, you can fire faster, and your DPS is higher. So like that's what they don't get. They don't get that kind of stuff. But no, it was great though, because they talked. One of the things he talked about too, and he kind of dispelled, and I liked that he did this, and I guess maybe I should have known this, but I've always been a proponent to, don't take away from weapons, just bring the other ones up. But one of the things he talked about there is like, look, it's difficult for us to do that all the time, because the problem is, everything has second and third order effects. So if you start to make weapons super powerful, all of them, it diminishes the skill level to defeat the PvE content then. So, that causes other problem sets. So that's why sometimes they got to bring some things down, and then they got to tweak some things to bring it back up. But all in all, it was nice to have those guys out there. They had no problems talking about, one of the things that with the great sword, they talked about it having, it seems like it's for sure going to be one after the blunderbuss, but they talked about it having a couple different types of stances, which is interesting. And that's a whole different way to play the weapon. It's not, it's not like WoW where every weapon's pretty much the same. They all has different cooldowns. Button cooldowns, do whatever. The whole mechanism, just like the musket, where you can zoom in and you have to reload, and you could fire from the prone. Where if you're a great axe user, you're not going to be in the prone ever. You play it differently. The weapons, it seems like they're on a pathway to make the weapons continuously change, evolve, shape. And then that just leads you then. Well, obviously, the daggers are going to be completely different too. So anyway, I thought that was a pretty interesting kind of piece, and the fact that he talks about that you can run and gun with that blunderbuss, and it had some directional, presumably the grappling hook buttons that the data miners found. Like we thought, maybe you can pull things to you, the old scorpion, get over here, or potentially maybe you can elevate yourself onto ramparts or something like that, which would be another amazing mechanic.
Yeah, when I saw that in the data link or data mine stuff, I was like, no way, nope, you guys are nuts. And then when he said navigational, I was like, oh, maybe I believe it. It's still, I think it's still a bit of a long shot, because it's like, holy shit, like how many ways would that break the game in ways that would be just so difficult for them? Like the whole point of in games in old school WoW and whatever, and up till today even, you have, zone lines. You have areas you don't want people to go. So you put a big fuck off mountain there that they can't climb, and then people can't go there. And for them, if they do, if that's the case where they just have the balls to say, we're going to let you, we'll figure it out. Wow. That's just beyond next level. That's just super wow. So yes, to be clear for everyone, the next 3 weapons coming in January, if it all goes to plan, they said that they're planning on in January the blunderbuss. After that, in an unknown time, but if you look, they've been fairly consistent where it's like every 2 months ish you get a new weapon. So I would expect, this is not official, this is nothing whatever, but I would expect around March you're looking at the great sword, and then around May you're looking at dual daggers. Super exciting. We haven't heard from Wolf, Nomad, and Sword on the last couple of topics. Hop in, guys. What do you think about all this stuff?
Yeah, I gotta say the blunderbuss has got me real excited. I've been using musket and hatchet, and I like it a lot. Mostly I like the musket for its secondary trap abilities and crowd control features, but with the bomb and the snare. But in terms of how slow it is, it's just not doing it for me anymore. I've got it at 16 mastery, and I just kind of haven't been able to get it leveled up just because I haven't been using it that much. My hatchet's been mastered for quite some time at this point. I love how fast it is. I love how I can just run up to people and just pummel them to death. And with the blunderbuss coming, I think that'll pair nicely with how I've been playing hatchet. And this whole grappling hook thing, whatever that may be, has got me real stoked. One of the first things I did in this game was just run around and climb up mountains and see what weird ass ways I could get to places, and basically the equivalent of parkouring my way to and fro. And so if they have some sort of grappling ability where I can scale mountains or get to weird places, man, that's got me tickled pink. I love exploring. I love going off the beaten path and seeing what maybe I shouldn't see. So maybe that's a detriment to them, but it's fun for me as a player. So I'm real stoked for the blunderbuss. The daggers are super cool. Having some sort of maybe a rogue class would be nice. Some sort of sneak abilities maybe, or some cloaking or something to that effect. I think it'd be cool. Some backstab abilities is always nice to have in a group. And then the great sword, whatever it's going by. That'll be neat. Not something for me. Don't really care too much about swords or blades all that much. I prefer blunt objects as my weapons, but yeah, it's all exciting stuff. I'm really excited.
Sword, what do you think?
I'm really looking forward to the new weapons, and there are 2 questions I have about the blunderbuss. The first is, are we going to be seeing a new kind of cartridge coming into the game that we could potentially use to level engineering?
That's a good thought.
And the second piece here is, it seems to me like this, if the grappling hook works as you all say it is, this blunderbuss may become a critical tool if not a weapon for everybody.
Yeah, I think if, and this is a huge if, because I'm just, I still, part of me is like, no way, I don't believe it. It's way too much for them to put in our hands. But if they legitimately give you a grappling hook that lets you whatever, I think it becomes a weapon that everybody carries on them, even if they don't use it at all, just for, okay, I need to travel from A to B. I'm going to take a shortcut. I don't have to walk around this whole mountain. I can just, boop, shoot myself up and go from there. Yeah. Wolf.
One of the first things I said I wish I had in this game, as I was going around not having the success that Nomad was with parkouring my way up stuff, was I wish I had a fucking grappling hook.
Well, they
Now,
listened.
I don't use the ranged, the classical range weapons, the bow, the musket. Like, it doesn't interest me. The blunderbuss itself doesn't interest me. But if that's what it takes for me to be able to just get over the thing that I don't want to run around, you better bet I'm going to keep one of those in my pocket from here on out.
Yeah, 100%. Did we get to everybody? Yeah, we got to everybody on that. All right. Hit up the next one. Ark.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that the man, what else did they cover in that thing? I think that was
So
The mutations.
they talked about the mutations. Yeah, that was
yeah,
huge.
there you go, the mutation piece. Yeah, so the mutation piece, one of the interesting things, and this comes down to the expeditions, I know they mentioned it here, was for the mutations not to be sort of bound, at least not as tightly with the orbs as it is now, because they want people to have to go through that. But I tell you, the more, I don't know about you, Kai, but the more I heard them talking about them, to me, like it sounds like where they were talking specifically about, like, you're going to have this tier of weaponry that you have to have mastered up, and then when the dungeon will then offer you the next step up, right? The next thing that's going to be then required for the next mutation, which maybe requires fire oriented damage or ice oriented damage, or I mean, I think these are going to be super hard if you don't have a 5 A-lister team, and then the A-lister team has all the appropriate gear. But that said, they are willing to, it sounded like, to give you a lot more access and entry to the mutations. So I love these things. I played, Elder Scrolls. I had, just like they had heroics and WoW or whatever. Like I always end up playing the PvE content. That's the hardest possible content. So for me, this is a great step forward. It'll make me want to go ahead and get that gear necessary to kind of do stuff, because, like, let's be honest, the PvE in this game is not that hard. I mean, we struggled in Lazarus, brand new, never been there, read 0 things up there, but still at the end, we ran out of time on the timer, but we would have beaten it. And then when you and I ran through the second time, we ran through it in like 35 minutes. I mean, it's gonna, when you have really tough, hard content at the end of a game, it drives players to play and be the best they can and get better and improve, and that's that entertainment factor, I think, that you find at end games. I just hope, my only concern, and I'll pass the mic on to other folks, is I really hope that it's not locked by a max 600 gear score. Because if it is, it's just not something that the average player is going to be able to do for a very long time, probably.
So let's break apart a couple of issues here. The first issue, and I just want to preface this so that everybody else's comments can kind of be in the light of this information. They said a couple of things here that were tangentially related, but in the end lead to some very, very big changes going forward. The first thing they said is this: they have heard us say, as a player base, that the orb tuning, the creating orbs to get in dungeons process is too much work, not fun, too grindy, not worth. And they've said that they've done a couple of things to address that. The first is with the changes they made in 1.2 that landed this last week, especially the endgame dungeons pay out better because you have guaranteed gypsum and gear upgrades right off the bat. Number 2, they have heard and taken on board the fact that it just costs too much. It's just too hard no matter what to make keys. So they're going to address that. And the way they're going to address that is, number 1, they are going to massively lower the cost of making the keys. So coming up in January, we're going to see that the making the tuning orbs to get into the dungeons is going to be much easier. In addition to that, as not only are they going to make it overall easier to make any key, but they're going to make it to where the keys are universal. So you don't make a Lazarus key and a this key and a that key and a an Amrine key and a whatever. Just make whatever. You can make, let's say they say you can make 10 keys a week or whatever limitation they put on it. You can make X amount of keys, and those keys are just universal keys, and you can use it for Amrine, or you could use it for Dynasty, or you could use it for Lazarus. You choose. So that's important, number 1. Number 2, and this is a completely separate subject, but it's part of the stuff that Ark talked about. So I want to throw this out so that people can kind of wrap their minds around it in their commentary on this. The second thing is they're going to do dungeon mutations. And the dungeon mutations are not going to be like the dungeon mutations in World of Warcraft. They're not mythic dungeons. What they are is this. Each week, they're going to put out a themed kind of a mutation. And for that week, the dungeons will be themed with, so maybe it's like a poison theme one week, or maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's a healing negation theme, or a DPS, everybody's hardy, or whatever. But like every week, there's going to be a theme for that week, for 10-week cycle, and they're going to get progressively harder and harder. So week 4 is going to be harder than week 3. Week 3 is going to be harder than week 2, etc., etc. And the way that it works is you can only progress in that dungeon, in that week's mutation, if you have succeeded in the previous week's mutation. So week 1 is going to be, okay, this one's maybe, 10% harder on every dungeon. It's not going to instantly go to mythic level. It's just going to be a little bit harder. But if you don't complete it before the week's done, then week 2, you can't access that dungeon for the week 2 mutation because you haven't done the week 1. So the downside of that on my mind is you're kind of fucked if like, oh, I'm going on vacation, or like I got a work thing. I'm traveling for work for a week. Like that hurts a little because it knocks you out of the whole 10 weeks. But
yeah, that was my first thought as soon as you started explaining that. It's like there's no catch-up mechanic.
We don't
screwed.
We don't have those details yet. Maybe there is. Maybe it's just the guy with the key has to have it, or maybe I don't know. But like that's the potential downside I see. The upside I see though for it is, number 1, we know now that they have to intend to make the keys easier enough to get that people are going to be able to do every dungeon every week. That's great. Number 2, like, I like the idea of, okay, we've got, all of these dungeons, and now you have a reason to go back and visit them over and over and over, and each time it's a slightly different feel. It's a slightly different flavor. Now, yeah, week 1, when it's 10% harder and it's Amrine, well, Amrine's a fucking face roll, but I still want to do it even as a face roll, not because I give a fuck about week 1, but because I want to see what week 10, where it's like, oh, so much harder. I want to see what that's like. And I feel like it's a very cool thing if you set up if you set up a group, like we do this stuff together every week, to like test yourself on the whole cycle. It basically makes, like when everybody first ran through all the dungeons, it was fresh and whatever. We're going to have a fresh feeling and a fresh challenge every week for 10 weeks straight. And then after that, who knows what they're doing? Maybe a new season of something starts, or maybe at that point, whoa, there's an expansion out, and we've got 12 new who knows? But like, it's cool, I think. So, Ark, having heard that information about the number one, the keys are way easier, they like by definition, and they're going to be universal, and two, the thing about the way that the mutations are going to work. What do you think? Everybody jump in, including Ark. Go for it.
I just think I think it's good, right? I mean, more entrance to those expeditions is good. I think back to what I mentioned earlier. When I'm at level 60 in my cap and I'm going to go do these expeditions, you have to give me that small chance that I might get the weapon that I really, really want out of that thing, the thing I'm hunting out of that thing. And the worst thing ever is for me to get 2 of them, which I have. I have the bow and I have a warhammer out of there, and they're a shit gear score. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. I think if they just fix that one thing, that just let it put up there, and then like I said, even if my gear score is only 520 and I get that best hammer and I'm like, yes, oh my god, now I more so want to do the expertise grind, because every time I get that grind of my warhammer, it's just like one of the weapons we talked about this before from WoW or whatever, the legacy ones that keeps leveling with you. It is growing with me in power, and I can continue to build on my end game build, especially since you've built a game that clearly I don't have any alts. You clearly want me to be able to do everything with this one tune, and we all talked about how refreshing it is to swap out a gear set, swap into, go from a musket rapier build to a warhammer great axe to a double gauntlet, to a healer. Well, that's a lot of gear, a lot of things I have to get. I want to be able to start down that path now, not have to wait until all my pieces of gear are at 6, which is crazy because it takes like on average 35 pops to get your thing off of. And even if you went out and you got all of the gypsum every day, what a daunting task that would be. It'd be 35 days, on average for you to get, I don't even, this all can you get, but you'd at least have all your main gear and 2 weapons, right? You can do like 7 in a day right now with the
I honestly don't see the average
Winterfest?
player getting more than say 4 a day, because there's several of them that
exactly.
are locked behind excruciating sort of whatever, and then just the time
Exactly.
commitment. Yeah.
That's right. So you're talking, even if you got 4, you're talking months on end before you could go in. I mean, you could feasibly say you're hunting the Warhammer down and you got the Warhammer at 600 and you could start going in there and trying to get that best one, I guess. But then if you accidentally stumble on, it's Jesus rolls, right? You stumble on the really awesome ring or the really awesome, whatever else, and for your other build out. Anyway, bottom line, I think it's all good. None of this is bad, right? All of this is good. All of it's good. I don't see anything I haven't seen anything that they want to do as bad, just maybe not where I think it needs to be.
I want to hear from Nomad. Your thoughts specifically on this stuff. Nomad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. I was muted. I think it's excellent. I haven't looked, super hard into it. I'm kind of hearing the bulk of it for the first time right now. I had watched a video that briefly mentioned the mutations for the expeditions, but I think it's great. Anything to look forward to, in my opinion, is good. With it gives a challenge, like you said, Amrine, it's whatever at this point. But it's still a good dungeon, and it's still kind of fun to run. And then giving that more incentive to continually run it and have a continuous group of people to go run these dungeons is a win. I love running dungeons or expeditions. And so having something new to look forward to in each of the expeditions that I don't know if they're doing all the expeditions like separately or if they're all be on the same theme. Is that made clear, or is that
Yes, it's going to be every week is going to have a theme, and every week each dungeon is going to fit that theme and be increased in difficulty at the same time over the previous week's mutation. So like I said, the mutations are all going to be of a type. So like let's say for example, this week's mutation is every mob that you fight is hardy, or every mob gives, or every third whatever mob gives poison, or this one they all give corruption, or they give blight. And like, okay, now you know you need to take blight tinctures, or now you know you need to whatever this, or like every, like there's a poison, or there's a void something. There's some kind of behind the boss of the last boss. There's like a void orb that's just pulsing, that's giving slight ticks of void damage constantly. So you have to like, the healer, you have to like maybe take a void defensive equipment, and the healer has to be like constantly heal, or whatever. So there's A, it's going to be on a theme, and B, it's going to ramp up in difficulty. So the first week's mutation is not going to be particularly hard. It's just going to be like a little extra, whatever. But by the 10th week, it's weeded out 90% of the people. Like only the best of the best can do it by the 10th week, I think.
And that's nice with the whole themes and stuff, because it gives you a reason to work towards these different resistance builds, and more so than just going into the end game areas and things like that, where you may not want to keep that gear around, or you just get it for a little bit, or a lot of times you can kind of just get by without building that resistance. I imagine that by week 10, if you don't have these, whatever theme it is that week, if you're ever not built up for that, you're gonna have a bad time. And I think that's a good thing. I'm someone who's kind of bad at that, where the potions and things like that, it never seems totally worth it for me to like focus on making sure that I have all these things, and worrying about every little like resistance gear that I have. As the kind of player that I am, I've never been a min-maxer, but this would give me a very compelling reason to start looking at that stuff and start worrying about my gear and what resistance I have built up, different gear sets that I may need to acquire. It's a very big incentive to continue playing, to continue growing as a player, to increase my knowledge on what I need to get past these weeks, these trials essentially. So I think it's great. I'm excited to see what they do with it. They have all the room in the world to screw it up and make it a major pain in the ass. But I'm gonna be the optimist, and say, I think this is going to be a net positive moving forward.
Sword, what do you think? Dungeon mutations.
I'm hearing a lot.
Go ahead.
I'm hearing a lot of new gear sets, and the first thing I thought of is I don't have enough storage for all of this.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have all heard my rant every week on the things that I would like, and one of them is loadouts for sure, and
Please God.
some addition. Also, we're gonna wrap this up with what stuff that we would like, and I have an idea with regard to that I think is whatever. But all right. Any other thoughts, Sword, on the mutations, and also on they've already stated flat out that they are going to make keys much easier to make and universal.
I think it's a great step forward. It will also reduce this rather irritating trend of you have to pay somebody to get into a dungeon.
Yeah. Okay. Right on.
But yeah, good step forward.
All right. Wolf, what do you think?
So, big fan of making the dungeon keys suck less, because that's been like, yeah, you want to come, you use my key, hand over X amount of gold, and well, I mean, there's no guarantee that person's not just gonna throw the dungeon and take your money and run. I'm not gonna say a lot of people are doing it, but I'm saying that the possibility exists, so therefore, of course, it's gonna happen. Dungeons are fun to do with friends, so making it so that you can more easily better do something with friends is awesome. I have my reservations about the mutations because I'm much more of a casual player, and I've got an IRL that sometimes says, "Hey, your ass has got to disappear for however long," and I go do things and I come back, and it's like, well, I had to go do this one thing, and then there's 10 weeks of something that I'm missing out on because I'm off time with it, and maybe there's a makeup, catch up kind of thing that you can do. That would be great if they haven't thought about it. Maybe they should. Hopefully, we're not the only ones saying that, thinking that sort of thing. Making it easier to do the dungeons, kind of echoing what Ark was saying earlier, making the gear match the people who are in it. Because, you go to Amrine, you're getting what, level 25, 30 gear? And it's all quote unquote useless to us now that, we're level 60. I think it's good repair parts, but, there's lots of ways to get repair parts. I think it's going to add an interesting dynamic of okay, now you can do it. Now what's the usability behind it?
I would love to see these dungeons give either gypsum or patterns or something, the mutation ones, as specifically as we said, like if you're talking about Amrine for level 60, obviously none of the gear that drops native to the original version is going to be of any use whatsoever. So having something go in there would definitely be cool. I'm going to take a second real quick live in the show to say congratulations to Brittany, who just hit level 23. She just started this game like 3 days ago. It's the one that I was telling you in the story earlier about how she went up and killed the Yeti, the Winter Warrior. Hello, Brittany. You're live on the show.
Oh, hi.
I literally yanked her out of the comms channel, so she's probably like, "What the hell is going on?" Yeah. We're
blindsided.
We're doing the New World show, so I wanted to congratulate you live for hitting level 23 on your second day of playing the game.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, we were just wrapping up the Brittany, you're welcome to stay with us. You can drop back down if you want, but you're welcome to stay on the show and give your thoughts. We just were wrapping up the thoughts on the dungeon mutation stuff and the stuff that's coming. I want to wrap up the show with a quick go around the horn and everybody give your thoughts on what would you like changed, where you're at with things as they are now. Number one, as I've said throughout the entire show today, there are problems, there are bugs, there are things that still need polish. But every step of the way here, I'm seeing positives, I'm seeing forward momentum, I'm not seeing anything where it's like, well, that's a step backwards. They specifically said that they introduced the PTR in November, but they didn't really have enough chance because they were going so fast with things and they had stuff in the pipeline already. They didn't really even have enough chance to utilize the feedback properly that they got from the November feedback. And that's why the 1.1 patch in November dropped with some, shall we say, issues. And they took that on the chin. They said, that's on us. We were so, in a rush to get things going that we could have done that better. We learned from that, and in the 1.2 patch, we did incorporate much more feedback, and we've put out what we feel is a much more polished product. And I agree 100%. They got feedback in the 1.2 patch that like, hey man, this thing about you're going to lower my items on me and this, that, and the other, like, whoa, that was way negative. They walked a lot of that back. They walked a lot of the perks back. Some of the perks were way too strong. Some of the anti-healing PvP meta was way too strong. They walked a lot of it back. The fact that the gypsum of things were going to cost like hundreds of gold a day or hundreds of coins a day to craft, they basically made them free. It went from being like, oh, it's 200 to craft one to like, oh, it's $2. So it's like it's basically free. You can that's nothing. So they made a lot of great changes with regard to all of this. So I'm giving them 3 thumbs up right now. If there were like a couple things I would change to fix the game now, like my suggestions to make the game better. Number 1, they need to put in they need to, just the biggest one, they need to make the tuning orbs to get into the dungeons way easier, or get rid of them, or change that system up 100%, because it's just it's too painful, and it makes their content inaccessible. And they've already said they're doing that. So like, this is, I'm saying they should do it, and they're agreeing that they should do it. So yes, great. They should definitely do something with regard to loadouts, so that you can equip loadout gear, and say like, here is my mining set, here's my PvP combat set, here's my PvE tanking set, here is my, whatever, deck set, this, that, and the other. And that's just huge. They've also, fast travel is just too much of a hassle. It's not so much that it's a hassle because it just costs too much at the base level to travel from place to place. It's too much because they allow us now to carry so much weight as you upgrade. With my bags, I can carry over 1,500 pounds of weight, and then it's like, okay, you have a cap of 1,000 mana for Azoth for fast travel, but like, for me to go to Windsward to First Light with, when I'm carrying a decent load of stuff, it's like, okay, that's 600, and it's like, well, okay, that system needs to be worked at. And I will say this, this was another thing they said in that roadmap. They understand that that's the case, and they're doing multiple things to make fast travel easier on Azoth. Number one, they're putting in shrines next to all the major dungeons so that you can just get there easier without having to like have a whole hassle. Number two, they are removing the extra Azoth that is cost for distance between traveling from shrines to cities based on the distance. So I think it's basically going to be, it's just a flat cap to anywhere in the county or territory or whatever. That doesn't address what the point that I said about the weight, that it's still a little whatever. But they've said there's also other things. They've seen that that's too much. And I think that this is early days yet in their revision of that. And I think that in the end, we're going to see that addressed more so. And then they need to fix this invasion system, the invasion and wars. Like, if you're either let the governor decide everybody in, or if not, then fucking don't let them kick everyone. Like, pick one or the other. I'm okay with letting the governor decide 100%. That's fine. But then don't let me be brought in and kicked and brought in and kicked, because they just do this shuffle. So like, I'm not saying I have to be in. I'm not saying how you have to decide it, but pick one. Amazon, pick one. Because when you say, we're not going to let the governors decide, but we're going to let the governors kick anyone they want to without cause, well, then you are letting the governors decide. You're just doing it with a hassle interface where I get bothered over and over as we're doing it. And then the last one I would say is, like, they need to introduce a better glam system into this game, so that I can take not only pieces that I buy on the store, but also just pieces that I like. Oh, I like this hat that this guy has, or I love this hat that I got from this dungeon. I got this hat from Starstone Dungeon, and it looks amazing, but it's made for a level 20 character. And so now, that I'm a level 60 character, I can't wear that hat anymore, even though it's the hat that I fell in love with. It's so awesome. It looks amazing. It perfectly fits my character's story or whatever, but like, the stats are no good. Give me some way that I can take that hat and salvage it in a different way, that it throws it into, like, okay, you have, even if it's just small to start off, you have a chest that can hold, 100 glams. And, okay, I melt this hat and turn it into that glam, and then boom, now I can put that on what I want. These are all things that I would like to see, that I would think would help this, along with continuing the game at the amazing pace of development that they've been putting stuff out, would make this game a absolute monster home run. These are my additions that I would like. Anybody have anything where it's like, well, I disagree with this one, or I would like this, let's go down the horn? Anybody disagree or have anything they want to add on any of the things I suggested first, and then we'll go down and let everybody add their suggestions.
I can't disagree with anything you said. A lot of that's my own thoughts as well. I think that all sounds
When you
great.
talk When you're talking about the glam thing, are you
Hmm.
talking like just I want it to look like this whatever thing, and I
Sure.
guess you could provide it as something that gets chomped to change the skin?
Yes, that's exactly. So right now, the glam system in this game is you can click on the hat and say I want it to look like, and you can choose from any of the store-bought hats that you find in game. What other games do, and what I would like this game to do, and what I believe they will do eventually, is let you do that, but also let you choose from hats that are in the game that don't cost you any money, hats that you just earned in the game, and say, maybe whatever, maybe Amrine Dungeon has a cowboy hat looking thing or whatever, and you're like, well, I want my guy to have a cowboy hat, even though it's a level 20 hat, so I'm never gonna wear that, so I can't wear that hat, I can't have that look because I got to have my void bent helmet, but I want my bent helmet to look like, this hoodie or this cowboy hat or this whatever that I got in the game. That's what that means. Sword, Wolf, no Ark, Brittany.
I completely agree on the glam comment. There's a musketeer's coat that I really like the look of, but I've never found one I could wear for any longer than a couple levels. And now that I'm level 60, I don't see it anymore.
Okay. So
Well, with my
go ahead.
vast knowledge and experience as a level 23 character, I think everything's great. I agree with the glam. It needs to be a little bit complex. I'd like to be able to choose different things than what they have on the store to buy.
Okay. So let's go with stuff that you guys want added to the game. I'm going to run down the list and I'm going to force every one of you throw something out there. Ark, go. Ark, are
Ark's
you
Discord's
muted?
doing that thing again.
All right, Ark, drop Discord and come back. Test. All right, we're going to come back to Ark. Brittany, what would you like added to the game? Anything?
Character customization.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, some different looks. I don't know.
A little more feminine stuff too, I think, because that you're a woman
that's
character.
That's a big problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Best.
Yep. Art, you're back. Go ahead. Your thoughts. What do you want added?
Yeah, that was the first thing I was going to say. Actually, didn't they add a bunch of more female outfits and gear with this patch too?
They did add some more. I think that they're moving in the right direction, but there's definitely still room for improvement. And they've said also they've acknowledged that for character creation in general, like it's a little basic at this point, and they're going to add more.
Yeah. So look, man, you already heard me say one thing. You want me to start playing my level 62 more often? Make the expeditions worth me doing them, right? So I beat that up already, so I'll move on from that. There's just some basic things, right? I'm ready for some basic adjustments. Like, for example, these guys touched on it in the show too. They mentioned the weapons guys. They said, look, we don't want to see everyone running with the same 3 abilities, with the same couple weapons. We want to make every ability, every perk viable in some way, shape, or form. Like, there would be enough work just there alone to have these guys working it out. I mean, just clicking around the bow. Like, no one's ever going to do knee shot. Get rid of knee shot. Nobody wants that. That's a hot bag of poop. No one cares. Every weapon right now, there's some skill, not even just a perk, there's some skill that's just not usable. I think they need to go take a look at that. And in fact, I'd look at that as much as I want to see other weapons. I would put these couple that they've talked to us about in, and then I'd take a really hard look at all the other weapons and make sure that the abilities make sense and that there's some viable option for them. And they work, by the way, too. They're not busted. And then just fix some of the smaller things. Like right now, I hate that I have to drag one item at a time into my freaking storage house. Like just stupid things like that seem like pretty easy fixes. I'm sure they'll get to. There's a dude like that I need to turn a quest into right now, an armorsmith dude who's not there. I don't know where he's at. But the quest worker's there. There's just small things. I'm not gonna be needy. I'm not gonna ask for a bunch of different stuff because all the things you talked about, Kai, they're things I want to. Right? I want the same. The same most of everything you just mentioned. But like, I think that they can focus a little bit on the skills, the abilities, the perks that maybe look at the attributes a little bit too, the benchmark attribute things. Are they tweaked where they need to be? Consider that a little bit. And I think just small improvements in that space would change the game. It would change the PvE rotations for DPS, for healing, for tanking. It would change the PvP builds and rotations and viability and strategies for different things. So like that's where I think they need to spend the most of their time. The, if they have some, as busy as crazy as drained as those guys look, that's where if I was their boss, I'd have them focused on making every freaking ability skill, every perk matter in some way, shape, or form, and have that PTR test realm the place to do it. Because you got to fix that part first before you start adding all these other different perks on gear and armor stuff. Like we didn't even talk about this time, but we talked about last time, the plague stuff and the healing stuff. Like that all just adds more confusion into the game a little bit when you don't have all your perks and abilities working the right way. So that's where I'd focus.
Hard to agree with everything, but I gotta say I'm a little disappointed, Ark. I left something off the list specifically because I knew it was your forte. You were gonna get to it. They said in the roadmap, they were like, we don't love any one over the other. We love PvP and PvE equally. We want to whatever. As they continue to produce content and new dungeons and new this and new that, I know you've said on multiple times to me that you can't wait for new 3v3, 5v5, 1v1 arenas, new other forms of Outpost Rush is great, but what if there were like 2 or 3 or 4 different types or flavors of PvP combat that you could queue up for and have different things? So like for Final Fantasy, for example, and in WoW both, you WoW you've got you got like, what's the name of the one? The ice one. You got the something with like the capture the flag one.
Whatever.
You got the capture the flag one. You've got the big battle. It's been years since I did the one where everybody sits AFK.
Give me a version of a hut ball. Give me a version of hut ball in this motherfucker.
Hell yeah. But I thought for sure you were gonna bring that up, that it's like that's what you wanted.
Bro, I didn't know it was like, I didn't know we were busting the Christmas list out for Santa. I want them to focus. But I want all those things you just mentioned, but all those things, no matter what they add, they'll be that much better whenever you fix the thing that I was just talking about in terms of just tweaking, finalizing those builds. Because every time you have one of those encounters, be it open world, be it in an arena, be it in a outpost rush or whatever else, it's going to vastly change the kinds of kind of loadouts and things that you're fighting against, or the tools that you can bring into the fight. So anyway, but I want all that too.
Okay. Wolf, what do you want them to add? What's on your Christmas list?
I don't want an addition. I want a fix.
All right.
One of the more irritating things is when I'm finally in, a group running around with you guys, or just pugging it, or, sneaking around and going through and killing stuff that's in the right area for things to be of the correct difficulty, blah, 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 to get the right sort of higher gear score things to drop. When it comes to, like, here's the perks and here's the abilities that things have, there's, like, it's obvious that they're looking up against a couple of different lookup tables, but they need to make it so that when you get, like say, for example, I'm running around with a great axe right now. It's a strength weapon. I just picked one up a little bit ago. It's like, oh, this is nice and shiny. It was blue, and gem slot had a thing in it already, and 14 focus. Like, that doesn't help me. This is useless, and into the trash pile it goes. Like, it would be nice if, it could be, not, a 25 strength axe would be better than, a 14 strength axe. But having the perks and stuff line up with what it is that I just got dropped, and then it did its RNG roll to figure out what it is, for stats. Like, that it's irritating. I'd like that irritation to go. Just because it's like, wow, this would be really good if I didn't lose however many points in this thing that my other weapon of lower level already has because it just happened to get the good roll.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah,
Because sometimes, like, I agree with you that it might be good if they tweaked the tables, the loot tables somewhat, but you don't want to tweak it 100%. You don't want it to be where all axes are straight strength, because you end up with these weird corner cases where, for example, Cinnamon will get super irate. It's like, this fucking life staff is amazing, but it's got hated on it. Like, what the hell? And it's like, okay, I get it. I get it that it's not right for you, but it's right for somebody because you have a paladin build who sees that life staff with the extra threat and is like, that is my wet dream. That's what I want. So, like, I feel like
Perfect sense.
I feel like there's a space to maybe say, let's tweak the table a little bit to where, say, 60% of the gear comes in with stats and perks that would sort of make sense to the meta builds, and the other 40 can be off the wall stuff. I feel like also, Wolf, let me ask you this. Would you be less bummed about the gear that's absolute sort of shite, as far as like, this doesn't make any sense to me, if there was some way, some vendor where you could sell vendor trash for straight up cash, even if it's not a lot?
Oh,
say,
God,
okay,
yes.
this axe, I'm not going to break it because I'm good on repair parts, but I'm going to sell it to this dude in the town, and, you know, maybe I get 10 gold out of it, 10 bucks. That's not a lot. It's not breaking the bank, but it's also making me feel like, all right, well, I got 10 bucks out of that. Like, when I kill a mob and I see, like, I got $10, I'm like, woo! As opposed to when I get an axe that's all dex and I'm like, bum, 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 bum.
It would definitely be nicer if there was a way that I could just mark. Well, marking I guess wouldn't be needed. If there was an NPC at each town, outpost, whatever, that I could go and just dump off my vendor trash, and being able to mark it for, you know, hey, what do you want to sell? It's like all the stuff that I put this particular check mark on, go and just get rid of it. I would be much happier if that was a possibility, because then I'm getting stuff that helps me keep up on the property tax of my house, or lets me, you know, after I've gone out and got a bunch of faction tokens and I need a whole bunch of gold to buy, you know, the different stuff out the faction store. Like, it adds you need this to play the game, so you don't need these things because they're garbage, but we'll give you a couple shekels for them. I'd be okay. I'd be very okay with that.
You know, real quick, just on that point, that Kai, you hit the nail on the head. Like, some people want that, right? Like, I might want that great axe with a bunch of focus on it to make a hybrid build, because there's a lot more hybrid builds coming out now. Not just races to 300, but you see a lot of get 50 strength, get 200 focus, hit 150 constitution. So, like, one of the things that's just cool, I think it's in it's in some game I played. It's where you could craft, right? You could recraft through like some kind of arcana or something, and you could swap attribute traits. You know what I mean? Like, you could take, like, you got that axe, it's exactly what you wanted, but it's a 15 int, and you could, with the right crafting thing, have it attuned into being 15 strength. That might be an interesting thing, especially since they spend so much time on crafting in this game. That might help you, because the big thing it sucks is not just whether you got that great axe that has the gem slot and the 15 focus. It's you got that great axe. It's got it's got vicious and keen on it, and it's got 15 focus, right? So now you've got two of the hardest perks to get on that particular weapon that you really, really want to have, and you just got a shit ass roll on its attribute. So in those instances, even if it was diminished, like, you could swap it, but instead of 15 focus now, or it's 15 focus now, it's 12 strength, it'd still be worth doing it. So that would open up a new kind of way.
You're telling this to a guy who's rocking a shield that has focus on it just because it's got 2 perks on it that are just too good to pass up, and I'm like, well, it's got strength focus, so it's somewhat in the ballpark.
It helps your fishing.
Sword. Sword.
Oh,
What's on your list? What do you want?
my current big pet peeve that has not been talked about yet is the retreating mechanic and certain mobs, certain bosses, leaving and resetting back to full health after pounding on them for the better part of 5 minutes.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, specifically, I think this is much more of a thing that is a plague upon ranged players. As a melee player, I don't really have that issue very often. I run up at something, I smack it in the face, and then I murder it. As a ranged player, I think you much more have where you want to design your encounter such that you're not close to it at the start, the mob. You pull it, you get some shots in on it, and you want to try to find that magical pull it as far as possible, give you the maximum amount of time to get free deeps in on it. And sometimes that line can get a little blurry, and then the mob fucks off on you, and then you're having a bad day.
Well, and even when you're fighting another ranged mob, for instance, the musketeers in Merkgard, I gave up on one particular musketeer because every time I would get it down to 10% health, it would move a tiny bit to the right and just refresh to full health and run off.
Yeah, there's a lot of mobs that are ranged where it's built into their sort of combat mechanics that they will reposition from time to time to like get a better shot or to evade or for whatever reason that they're doing the things that they do, and it can be rough if that extra repositioning puts them just over the magical line where then they fuck right off on you. That's a rough time. I feel your pain on that one for sure. Did I miss anyone? Did everybody include their stuff that they would like?
I have not, but
Right. Hop in, Nomad. Other than more Alex Jones and weed, what would you like brought to the game?
If we could have an Alex Jones class, that would be just the best. But no. So the thing that I've kind of been saying since day one, when I realized that Great Hammer was a two-handed weapon, is some sort of one-handed blunt object, whether that be a mace or a morning star or a one-handed hammer, even something like that would be really cool. I like that.
So
those kind of weapons.
I will say for your to make you feel better, there have been leaks that both a one-handed mace and a two-handed mace are coming to the game.
Beautiful.
Data
love
mine.
to hear it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Love it. And then what was it? Oh, this is kind of like a pie in the sky thought that I had during all of this, but I think it would be cool. I'm not sure, the logistics on this. Obviously, I'm no game designer, but if there was some mechanic to where you have two weapons mastered completely, that having that combination would unlock a specific perk that is specific to that combination of weapons. One perk that unlocks. I don't know if it's an ability or just some sort of stat boost that is complementary to both of them. But I think that would be kind of interesting to see if they could implement something like that. Again, kind of a pie in the sky, just random thought that I had. But maybe for down the line that something like that would come out. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Can you give like an example of something you would like to see along those lines?
Yeah, so like I have Musket and Hatchet. Musket. If they had some sort of I don't know. Like I said, I kind of thought about this during this whole discussion, so I haven't really fleshed it out at all. But something that would combine the two of them. If there was maybe like one ultimate ability that combined both of them, I think that'd be interesting. Or if it was just a stat boost that increased, dexterity, because both of Hatchet and Musket scale with dexterity. If it's some dex boost or around a certain amount of enemies, you have a dex boost, kind of that sort of thing. I think would be neat.
Yeah.
Not a deal breaker by any means, but maybe just something to think about.
That's something. That's something in the last week Ark and I were talking about, where I said it would be cool if they were to create archetypes that were basically this weapon paired with this weapon equals this. So musket and hatchet would be the Davy Crockett. Already everybody's calling sword and shield and life staff the paladin. I think I could see, spear and sword and shield could be the Spartan. And then if you have this and that together, you get one special, like you get like maybe two special abilities that you can choose from, and you have to pick one or the other. And it's like, oh, I'm a offensive Spartan or defensive Spartan, or I'm a this or I'm a that. That would be very, very cool. I dig that. That's a great. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna tag on that. I think it would give more of a reason to specialize into something and make sure that you have those two weapons mastered.
Hell yeah. All right. So I'm digging all of this. Let's go around. This show's been going long, so let's go around the horn and just get everybody's just gut reaction. How are you feeling this week with 1.2, with the stuff that we saw on this roadmap, with the Winter Wonderland thing that's going till the 11th, and the free stuff they're giving away for Winter Convergence Festival on the store, and everything? Honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, right now, I feel like with the changes they've made and the open and honest way that they discussed their previous flaws and their plans for the future, I'm feeling this is a 9.8 out of 10. Like, I am as hyped as I can get. And I know probably people are like, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, but like, dude, I'm just feeling it for realsies. Ark, scale of 1 to 10. What's the state of the game?
Well, I'm gonna give it the state of this last update and this Winterfest, and I don't know how you do it any better. I think it's a 10. I think they did it perfectly.
Fantastic. Brittany, as somebody who's been playing this game for 2 days now, how are you feeling about it? What do you think?
I would like it if they could drop Gleamite right where I'm standing every single time it's night.
Yeah.
And that's the only changes that I would suggest.
Okay. All right. Wolf, state of the game.
AGS has gone above and beyond to always make this fun. Like, they've had a couple missteps with like the trading house being down and stuff like that, but the game itself has been overall unabashedly fun. And you can sit down and you can play it for hours at a time. You can sit down and play it for 5 minutes at a time. It doesn't matter. You can still feel like you're accomplishing many different things depending on your natural play styles and whatnot. And I give the game a 9.5. Like, they're knocking it out of the park, and I want them to keep it going.
Hell yeah. Nomad, state of the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a cautiously optimistic 8.5.
Okay.
I think there's room to improve. They know that. They've stated that. I think that's great. But I'm pretty knocked down by the state of the game industry as a whole anyways. So I'm kind of, you can talk all you want. You can give us all this lip service. But at the end of the day, you gotta give those results. And I love this game. I've been having a lot of fun with you guys. Definitely best MMO of this type that I've ever played, in my opinion, but cautiously optimistic. I'll wait and hold out and stick with it until the bitter end, if there is one.
Hell yeah. Right on. All right. And Sword, take us home, brother. State of the game. How are you feeling about it?
I'll go ahead and give it a 9 after this last patch. It's feeling pretty good. They've got things they can work on, but for being out, 3 months now, or is it 4?
2.5.
2.5. It's pretty darn good, and you can't really ask for much more, given what they've been working on.
Right on. All right, guys, that's the end of our show. It's been a long one. I want to go around and ask everybody: is there anything else you want to? I've said way too much. I've been talking for, it seems like, weeks now. Anything you want to add in? If not, say goodnight to the beautiful people. Starting with Ark. Go.
Good night, everybody.
Right on. Brittany, you got anything you want to add for somebody who just got yanked in here completely against your will without any advanced notice whatsoever?
Happy hunting.
There you
Happy
go.
harvesting. Have fun.
Right on. Wolf.
Just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us for the show. I hope you're having a great time doing whatever it is you are doing.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Nomad.
I'd just like to say thanks for having me on, Kai. It's been great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited for the future. And again, those negative people that have all negative things to say about the game, if that's how I want to feel about it, they can. But I'm gonna stick with it. I'm having a great ass time.
Hell yeah. I feel like everybody's opinion and viewpoint is valid to them. If you are not having fun with it, don't play it. Play something else and have fun. I hope you have a happy holidays with whatever it is you choose to do. I'm going to be playing this because it's fun as fuck for me. Nomad, or not Nomad, sorry. Sword, take us home.
Thank you very much, Kai, again, and have a happy holidays to everyone who tuned in.
Right? I want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah. Nothing else, only Hanukkah. Hanukkah rules. Or Diwali, whatever. We may not do a show next week just because it's going to be like literally like right in the middle of the whole Christmas whatever jobby. But we will be back. If we don't next week, we will be back the following week. This game is just going great. I cannot wait for patch 1.3 to hit the PTR. I want to see this blunderbuss. I want to shoot around a gun with a grappling hook and swing around like fucking 17th century Batman. I want to see what new events and shit they bring in. I'm loving all of this. I'm having so much fun. I hope you are as well. Thanks and good night. Peace, bitches.